In February 1943, a 17-year-old Yugoslav girl experienced the most dramatic moment of her life. Her name was Lepa Radić and she was a partisan, that is, a member of the communist guerrilla that in those days was fighting against fascism in her country. Despite her young age, Radić had always been interested in politics and had become a fervent opponent of Hitler and his allies. Eventually, the Axis powers got fed up with the partisans' organized sabotage and attacks, so they engineered a joint offensive to wipe them out completely. The military operation received the name of Weiss, and was launched at the beginning of 1943. In the midst of brutal clashes between communists and fascists, Lepa Radić was given the important mission of transporting defenseless civilians to safety. With her traveled children, women and the elderly whose homes had been looted by the enemies. They had to go to a refuge in the middle of the mountain when, suddenly, they were surprised by a party of the SS. The girl had only a rifle and a pistol to defend herself, but under no reason did she think of giving up and leaving her group at the mercy of the Nazis. The chances of success were slim, but Lepa knew that if she was lucky, they might just escape. Do not move from your screen because in the next few minutes we will tell you everything about Lepa Radić, the Yugoslav heroine who faced Hitler. Are you ready? Let's begin! Lepa Svetozara Radić was born on December 19, 1925 in the village of Gasnica, in what was still the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, under the command of King Alexander I. Her childhood passed uneventfully, although in troubled times, going through her primary and secondary studies while the movements of Hitler and Mussolini became stronger. The fascist wave soon reached Eastern Europe, and in 1929 the Ustasha, an ultranationalist, Nazi-sympathetic Croatian organization, was founded and terrorized the region for years. This group preached the need to found a racially pure Croatia, for which it would be necessary to eliminate Jews, Serbs and Gypsies, in addition to eradicating communism. The protagonist of this story grew up in this context, seeing how everything around her was changing and the world was preparing for a war. From a young age, Lepa Radić was interested in politics, largely due to the influence of her uncle, who was a militant of the trade union movement and had ties to leftist movements. As soon as she entered adolescence, the girl joined the Communist Youth League. Shortly thereafter, when she was 15, she became an official member of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, which was led by Josip Broz, better known as Tito. When World War II broke out, the Third Reich, aided by Mussolini's Italy and collaborationist Hungary, invaded Yugoslav territory and achieved its surrender after barely 11 days of combat. The Royal Army had utterly failed to defend the nation, and the King of Yugoslavia fled to England, leaving the country to his fate. In the midst of the chaos, the Ustasha seized power and established a new Croatian state, with a government that sought to resemble that of Hitler. The regime went after communist militants, including Lepa Radić, her uncle, and other relatives of hers. In November 1941 they were arrested for their political sympathies and sent to prison. Fortunately, a month later, the Radics were aided by undercover partisans, who helped them break out of jail in a dramatic escape. After the escape, the girl assumed a stronger commitment to the fight against Nazism and its collaborators, for which she joined the communist guerrilla. By then, the partisan army had become one of the largest in Europe in numerical terms, since it had hundreds of thousands of troops. In July 1942, Lepa participated in her first military operation, the Kozara Offensive, launched by Tito to liberate Nazi-held Bosnian territories. The girl was part of a company assigned to sabotage missions, which she carried out with enormous courage. It is estimated that, towards the end of the war, the partisans lost 1,700 troops, but managed to seriously damage the German forces, who suffered 7,000 casualties. Among the fallen were Lepa's father and uncle, who perished in battle riddled with Nazi fire. As we told you at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of 1943, the Axis powers decided to put an end to the partisans once and for all and launched Operation Fall Weiss. The army that advanced towards Yugoslavia consisted of 90,000 Germans, Italians and Croats, as well as 12 air squadrons. It is unknown how many the partisans were at that time, but it is known that they were outnumbered and, on the other hand, they were poorly equipped, since their weapons could not match the state-of-the-art military technology of the Third Reich. During the fight, Lepa had to assist the wounded and ensure their transport to a refuge. On the other hand, she was commissioned to evacuate the civilians who suffered the destruction caused by the Nazis. One day in February, while helping a group of children, women and the elderly to cross a road on high ground, her group was intercepted by Nazi troops from the 7th SS Mountain Division. Her only option was to put up a fight. If they were caught, they could be considered dead. The partisan emptied her rifle and her pistol at the Germans as they tried to break out of the encirclement and flee through the snowy mountains. However, the enemies were too many and they were surrounded, so they cut off the retreat attempt and took them prisoner. Lepa Radić was transferred to northern Bosnia, to a prison where she suffered all kinds of torture at the hands of the SS in order to extract information from her. The Nazis presented him with an offer from her. She could give them the names of other partisans, and in exchange, they would spare her life. However, the girl endured the beatings and humiliation without giving them the information they wanted so much. She remained faithful to her comrades until the end of her life, until the Germans, convinced that they would not be able to get her out of her silence, sentenced her to death. On February 8, 1943, Lepa was led to her scaffold, where they put a rope around her neck. Even when her life was about to end, the partisan was defiant with her enemies, shouting at them, "Long live the Communist Party and the guerrillas! People of Yugoslavia, fight for your freedom! Don't give in to the wicked! I will be killed, but there are those who will avenge me." Seconds later, she was hung while a film crew recorded her execution. The tape was found years later, in Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, in the bag of a German soldier. Today, Lepa Radić is remembered as a heroine of Yugoslav history, one of the many female guerrillas who dared to confront fascism in one of humanity's darkest ages. In the place where she was executed today stands a bust of her that commemorates her sacrifice. We reached the end of the video and we want to ask you, do you know another story similar to that of Lepa Radić? Leave us your answer in the comment box below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history.